Join us today as we learn about the hidden secrets of vegetables.
Do we want to hear from Astrid's mom? See, Mrs. Iverson, if you want to say anything about why we're all together today?
Sure. I think that the reason why I really wanted this podcast to happen is that you, Sally, are a fountain of knowledge when it comes to all things concerning something strange called oxalates that most people in this world don't know anything about. And I think you're doing a phenomenal job at reaching out to people who have been severely affected by oxalates. But I think that it's difficult perhaps to reach out to the younger generation who might not feel that they are affected at the moment, but might very well find themselves in a situation a few years down the line where they will be severely affected. And I also think it's really important in this day and age when we are so influenced by social media and what's trending and what's not, what is aspirational to have a conversation like this with the younger audience, because I think in the modern world we're fed so many things and we are often just being fed them, and we're not really trained to challenge what we are being told.
Yeah. So in the health world, particularly the health and what we're supposed to eat is just, there's so many opinions and so much passion about it. And it can get confusing really fast, and it can lead in the wrong direction. So let's just think about for a minute, about food and what's a healthy diet and all that. What do you guys know about what makes a diet healthy or not? What's a healthy diet?
I think it's got to be balanced.
Yeah, it has to be balanced.
Yeah.
So what's balance mean?
A bit of everything. So
Not
eating
much.
Not too
one
much
thing.
carrots or you need mainly vegetables and fruits and protein. Yeah, but having a bit of carbs, especially when you're growing up, I think is good for you.
Depending on which carb.
Yeah, depending on which carb you're eating.
Okay, that's good. That's sophisticated.
Yeah.
You're talking about what people call macronutrients, the carbs, the fat, and the protein, but protein in vegetables. Okay, so any other comments about healthy diet?
I think it also depends on the person, what you want to eat.
Yeah. You should have a little bit of choice. I don't think it should be.
I mean,
a specific.
I think
yeah.
you should have a cheat day.
What's a cheat day look like? Tell us about cheat days.
A cheat day is like when you have, so for example, if
Pizza.
if you're eating healthy until Saturday and then on Sunday you don't eat as healthy as you did in the week. So like, as Asha said, you can have like pizza or like chips and stuff.
So
on your cheat day.
Otherwise, you'll feel like you don't eat a lot of unhealthy things. So instead of eating it, so you don't eat a lot of unhealthy things for like a really long time, then suddenly you crave it so much and just have a lot of it, which is really bad because it can like build up.
Cheat day kind of like balances it out.
Yeah, so that you don't crave
it as much.
And you don't need to have like a lot of bad stuff in 2 days, and it doesn't need to be like an unhealthy day.
It's not like
it can just be like
like 1 or 2 things that is a bit unhealthy.
You've been wanting.
Yeah, you still have healthy things on the cheat day, but you just like you still have the pizza.
But you add in the
treat
stuff that you
want to eat. Pop that in.
So some foods that you think you shouldn't eat, if you eat it now and then you don't have cravings, or do you just get cravings because you eat too much healthy food?
Yeah,
I think you get cravings. I think cravings are more in your mind.
Yeah,
you really
it's
think
a thought process.
Yeah, it's not really like you physically like. I mean, if you didn't know about a certain type of food, you wouldn't crave it. But because you know about it and you really like it or want it, you will crave it anyway. You might crave healthy things. I don't know. But quite often you don't.
So what are the foods you know that taste good, that you like, that would be those kind of foods?
Chocolate. Too many.
Chocolate for me, honestly. I'm a bit of chocoholic.
That's
my issue.
That's your issue.
I do.
Isabella's a chocoholic. Anyone else? What's one of those foods that are hard to resist or that really taste great?
I have no idea.
I don't have like a certain
I don't have a certain thing
Yeah.
that I would automatically go to if I had some sort of cheat day. Just be on my
what do you like though? Like, what's your favorite food?
Love
I
meat.
like
She
pizza.
loves meat. Like, that's her favorite food.
But meat is healthy.
Meat is
depending
healthy,
on how
depending
you
on
eat
how
it.
But then too much of
McDonald's
meat can
isn't.
kill you.
Well,
McDonald's isn't meat.
But McDonald's
I
isn't
don't know.
meat.
Yeah, but it says
fake.
it's meat.
Yeah, but too much meat can kill you. So
Yeah, it
it
can.
can
Like,
also
too much,
like
like
yourself
20
to it.
bananas can kill you.
Yeah, but if you have too much water,
It
it
can
can
kill
kill
you.
you.
It can drown you
Everything can kill you.
if you eat too much of it.
I just don't think I have anything that I would specifically go towards if I were to fix something.
I love feta cheese.
Same.
And bread.
I love it.
Wait, actually, maybe bubble tea.
Oh,
I love
Oh,
bubble
yeah,
tea
bubble
a
tea
lot.
is nice.
Do you want me to be boba?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting. Okay, so what about, do you think you eat a healthy diet now?
yeah, because of my mom.
Parents, yeah, maybe
Yeah, our
parents.
parents.
I don't think I used to eat as much
I eat
unhealthy
a lot.
as I used to.
No, I don't. Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever been like super unhealthy.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Ever. But I think especially since my mum like started looking into it, we stopped just having certain things like or like having it less. Like we hardly ever have, for example, pizza.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Whereas like we used to have it a little bit more often, not like very often. But I just think I don't know.
Just mainly parents,
Yeah, definitely.
I think our dad is
specifically the one.
Yeah, changing the way we eat things. I mean, he started making his own yogurt and his own bread.
Yeah, my
And
dad
everything.
makes
So that started changing.
So.
I mean, I remember we used to buy like stock bought yogurt in these massive tubs, and like bread in general was shop bought, and then suddenly we started making our own.
I think that's really good though.
Yeah, it's better.
I think with my mum, I like hi mommy. Like I think I eat healthily, and so does my mum. We don't really like obviously sometimes like from a birthday party or something, or like eat unhealthily, which is what many people do. But I think we've always had quite like a straight on, like, you know, today's gonna be broccoli and, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I used to eat like, I know, like after school, my friend used to get like like stuff from the corner shop.
People still do that.
Yeah.
Actually, I've noticed.
Like loads of crisps and stuff, and then it would, you kind of like builds up. So like, yeah.
It builds up.
Yes. Yeah.
Meaning you start doing that and you do it more.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't realize you're doing it,
Right.
and then like just keep eating.
So you could develop unhealthy habits and not really admit to yourself that it's happening.
Yeah,
I just don't think
definitely.
you want to.
Yeah,
Because
it's
you
so
know it's bad in the back of your brain.
Last
Well,
year-
I want it.
Last year
Actually
in my
be in
school,
this.
it's not open now because of COVID, but we had a tuck shop where they sold for 50p. They sold every day. They sold like something sweet. I don't know why they always sold something sweet, but it was like, I don't know. And lots of people would eat it. So you would come into break, and like the majority of the year would just be eating this like one thing that was like really unhealthy. It would be like, you know, there's like Rice Krispie bars.
Oh, no
yeah,
way.
Like,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
like wafers.
No way.
Yeah, for like
And they're telling you to eat healthily.
yeah, and so it like makes you feel like you really, really need to eat. Not need to, but it just makes you hungrier.
Like peer pressure to them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also in school you're always hungry because school tires me out.
I mean, it's like an egg source for energy.
Yeah.
You go into school, you sit down for a couple of minutes and do some
You're
work,
hungry.
and then suddenly by the end, by break, I'm like, oh my god, I really need to eat something.
The
Yeah.
annoying thing is, in me and my sister's school, the canteen at break isn't open, so they don't really let you eat anymore.
Due to COVID.
Yeah, because of Corona. So
During
it's
that
not.
lunch.
And then lunch is all
can-
strange, you know.
Yeah, you can bring your own snack if you want to,
Mhm.
like normal.
Yeah.
But at break, most of the people would be in the lunch hall because they have food there.
They used to.
Oh, so you
anyway.
do eat?
Yeah.
No, that was last.
It was
That was last
Wait,
year.
I'm really confused.
So they
No,
stopped
They don't have it
This
open
year.
anymore because
because
of
of Corona.
Corona.
So, is there anything that's more important to you than your health?
Oh yeah.
What are all the things that matter more than
Yeah.
you?
Oh yeah.
Of course.
I think so. Like when you're thinking about things that you think are important to you, I don't think like health is pretty high up because it does affect you in the long term. But it's not really. I'm not always thinking about my
Yeah,
health.
I mean,
Sometimes I'm suddenly like, oh, I want to be healthy and I'm gonna do something.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
then
look, already does.
most of the time, I mean, I think kind of because of also, like we said, our parents, you kind of just get into the habit of eating like as family meals more healthily. So it's not really on the top of my mind, like, oh, I'm so unhealthy, I need to eat healthy.
I mean, if I were to go through the things on my list, my like priorities and what I would like most want to do, studying would be probably the first one on my list. Making sure I get
Maybe,
good
like,
grades.
Second on my list.
What was your first?
What's your
one?
I
first
don't
one,
know.
Astrid?
What's important to me?
I thought anyone else
I think
would say.
friendship.
Yes, that was what I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
like
Friendships. Yeah.
It's just
Really?
I mean, that's a bit sad on my part, but I put my studying over my friends. No offense to me, but I'm sorry.
No, I don't mean like friendships. Oh, I have to have loads of friends, and that's
You
more
have one
important.
good friend, and
Yeah.
It's just like
that's
me and Vivi
maintaining.
actually we don't go to the same school, so a lot of the time we like want to find ways to hang out. And to me, it's more priority, like to keep friendships.
Yeah,
Yeah.
stable.
I mean, they've been friends since like what?
Reception.
We
Like
were
8
4
years.
years old.
So they are like this.
They're literally sisters. I mean, I
Um,
think Ashton's still on my place as the sister. You know, if
They
someone
look
had together
alike.
me and Vivian have.
Astrid. I'm kidding. I definitely think for me, family is probably my first one. I'm like,
You're a mummy's girl.
I'm a mummy's girl. I think family definitely one for me. First one.
Not health.
Huh?
Not health.
Not health.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, health would come probably third on my list, maybe
Yeah, I
fourth.
think fourth. Friends, family, health.
Friends, family, work, health.
Work.
Like
Studying,
Studying.
yeah, school.
I think studying would be my third one.
just
Friendship
scary
would be my
teachers as
second.
well.
What's scary?
Teachers.
Yeah,
I have this one teacher.
I don't know if this is just me, but I find ladies at the tills really scary.
The lunch
Lunch ladies, I find
Lunch
them really,
ladies.
really
They're like,
scary.
you have enough money in your card.
I'm putting you on the list. You have to pay me back.
I don't have my
Sorry.
Do your teachers, do any of your teachers teach about health in school?
There's health and social at our school.
PSHE sometimes.
Yeah,
We're
sometimes they
talking
talk
about
that.
drugs now.
But right now,
That is to do with health. Yeah.
right
Yeah,
now we're
it
talking
is.
about peer pressure. So actually, that kind of is like the social media health thing.
Oh, wait.
It's like what your peers pressure.
I don't think.
Are we talking about physical health or also mental health?
Yeah, both. Maybe.
Physical.
Physical.
Physical more.
What you eat and what you're influenced.
Yeah.
PSHE is basically sex education,
Yeah.
but with more stuff in it. So like,
It's personal
bullying.
social health education. Right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
but
just.
that's all-
Oh, but when you do PSHE and GCSE, the E is economics. So
Yeah,
PCH.
there you go.
PSHE.
PSHE.
We call it
You guys
PSE.
really love me, boy.
What is that? What's the C?
Why are we talking about this? I mean, in school I don't know why, but they're always like, oh, you should eat healthy.
And then
it
they
always,
offer you unhealthy
they
things.
put you in the
Exactly.
canteen.
Exactly.
My school, actually last year, whenever you went to a club or you had a cold lunch, so you couldn't go down to the dining hall because, yeah, basically, then they would give you a sandwich and a Kit Kat.
For free.
And like our school's like thing is giving us Kit Kats. We have so many Kit Kats. Like not now because of COVID. I don't know.
Yeah.
Kit Kats spread COVID.
Rappers.
But
I mean, everything's supposed to COVID now.
but last year I like had so many Kit Kats. It's crazy. I didn't even like them at the end of the year anymore.
Yeah,
Which is
they got
depressing.
bored of them.
Yeah.
Kit Kats.
That's interesting how inconsistent the message is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the adults can't get it straight either.
No.
Everybody's a little confused about nutrition. can I share you with some stuff with you? I want to tell you, when I was 12, I got really serious about studying what foods could make us healthy, and decided that I would make it my career. That wouldn't it be cool if you didn't have to get sick and you could just be awesome and get good grades and succeed at work and have a nice family and have fun in life? And, you know, if you knew what to eat, that would be really cool. That was like 43 years ago when I decided to get serious about nutrition. And I went to a really top school for a nutrition degree, and then went on and got another degree in public health. And I really liked good food and wanted to eat right ever since I was a little kid. And, you know, that's weird. Most people, at least 80% of everybody doesn't really care that much about their health. But I was already interested in eating healthy when I was like 5. And, you know, so I tried to do it all the time. And as part of it, even when I went to work in my career, I started teaching a vegetarian diet. And the sad part is I wasn't really feeling that great. And I want to tell you about that and give you a little primer on how my healthy diet ruined my life. And now I've become specializing in this one area where it's really easy to make a mistake. And those of us who are, you know, much older than you would prefer to let you learn from us rather than follow the social media and the current trends that are bringing more and more people to make the same mistakes that I've made and all the people that I'm helping. So I made some like pictures to share with you guys. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Yeah. So a lot of people think you have to eat a certain way to be healthy. And I know health is not the big deal, that, you know, being true to your family and staying up with your friends and keeping your grades up all matter a lot until your health is gone. And then all of a sudden you have to give that up. And that's what happened to me. I had a really healthy diet and started being a vegetarian when I started college. And not long into college, I started having more and more health problems. I had already had pain with my back and my joints. Even when I was about 12, it started, but it kept getting worse. And then I had like really weak elbows in college and kind of almost flunked out of tennis class because I really didn't have the elbow sturdiness to swing the long racket. And then my feet started hurting and I started limping around in college. So I had this arthritis. Then I developed this foot pain. I'd had some back issues. And it got so bad that I had to, it wasn't getting better. And so I tried to be in school and I couldn't, because I couldn't even get to class anymore. So I had made school my priority. I wanted to just finish my degree. And then after that, I could take care of my pain in my feet, but it didn't work. I kept trying. It got to the point where I couldn't go to class anymore. It was ridiculous. So I finally had to get a leave of absence from college. And they gave me a 4-year leave of absence because it was clear it was really not working. I had to leave and go off to a different state, many, many hours away to get this surgery where they cut open both of my feet and took out this little bone on the bottom of the foot under the big toe joint here. So they did that with both feet. I'm 22 years old. I had spent many years already on painkillers, using wheelchairs and crutches. And it took a very long time to recover, and months of, in fact, I never really did recover from that, because the next year I got married, and I got married in these sports shoes here with orthotics in it, and wore orthotics for many more years and had foot pain mostly my whole life until I changed my diet. And so like about 4 months before I turned 50, I stopped eating sweet potatoes, beet tops, kiwi, celery, carrots, and all this stuff that's supposed to be so healthy for you. And a total miracle happened. I went to a wedding the following spring, and I was able to stay in heels for 7 hours. That has never happened. I have not been able to wear heels my whole life, not even to my own wedding. I had to sit on a stool after the 15-minute ceremony because I couldn't stand any longer than 15 minutes. I'm only 23, and it wasn't until I was 50 that I could wear heels and not be in agony. So, you know, when I changed my diet, not only did my feet get better, but my brain got better and I started sleeping better. You see, I had no longer work. I had to quit my career too. So I quit my college. I dragged myself back, finished my degree, and then later went on and got a degree, but I had been struggling with things, and it just got worse over time. And I had happened again. I had to leave my career, quit And then I was sick for years. And it took me a while to figure out that it was something to do with my diet and what it was. So, you know, what I did after that surgery, I was vegetarian during my 20s, and then I turned vegan after that surgery. I was still not doing great. And I was vegetarian for 8 years and then vegan for 8 years. And Miley just admitted recently that over a year ago, when Liam quit the vegan diet, she did too, because she felt lousy too. Running on empty, she said. He got really sick on the vegan diet. Why do you think she waited a whole year to admit she's not a vegan anymore?
Well, the industry makes her feel pressured to be vegan because that's what's like
trendy
and healthy. Otherwise they'll be like, oh, that's so bad for the environment, you're so unhealthy, why would you do that, you just crave meat, you're so selfish. And
You're hurting animals.
yeah, that's what people would say to her.
I mean, honestly, even though I don't really like meat, I would say that the animals, certain animals, not all of them, because eating random animals is just weird.
weird.
But certain animals are there to be eaten.
Yeah,
That's their purpose in life.
Yeah,
That's
and
the reason why they were produced.
as long as they have a happy life, it's fine, I think.
Personally, I don't like eating meat. That's just because, to me, it doesn't taste nice. But
Right.
I will eat meat because it's healthy for me. But I don't necessarily like it. It doesn't taste nice to me.
I like it.
I prefer to be vegetarian, even though that probably isn't the best, choice.
Yeah.
Well, I want to touch on some of the stuff that you're talking about the idea that it's selfish and, shouldn't eat it because you're hurting the animals. And some people think it doesn't taste nice. And, Astrid mentioned earlier that a lot of our attitudes about what tastes nice or isn't is because of our experience and because of the attitudes and social attitudes around it. And our ideas about what's okay to eat and what isn't come from some odd places. And I was listening to the wrong people. And now there's more of it now, more pressure to do a plant-heavy, plant-based diet. I was listening to this woman, Frances LePay, who wrote a famous book called Diet for a Small Planet. And she was convincing everybody that we should not eat meat because it might hurt the workers and it's bad for everybody. It's bad for the planet. So we all want to be good for the planet. Certainly I did. I'm a very eco-conscious person. So I went for that. And that's what started me. And then another guy wrote a book called Diet for New America that convinced me I should be vegan because it's all bad. It's all evil. It's going to hurt you. And they're the wrong messengers. Here's some of the ones I was listening to. John McDougall, Michael Clapper, and many others. But all of this, way before all of this, vegetarians were happening over 150 years ago. For religious reasons, Kellogg was vegetarian. The guy who invented the cornflake, that's why he invented the cornflake, to help people not eat meat. And that came from religious teachings that he got as a very young person. He was 12 at the time when he was helping people who founded a religion that believed that eating meat would make you immoral and maybe prevent you from going to heaven. So that had nothing to do with health. And unfortunately, one of the followers of Dr. Kellogg was the person who ended up founding the whole dietetic profession. The profession of nutrition was founded by a religious vegetarian. So there's been a lot of religious and other reasons that are influencing our ideas about what's healthy and good to eat. And as Astrid said, basically what we eat is something that's learned. And it's coming a lot of times, as you said, from industry. A lot of pressure and ideas come from profit centers and, trying to convince people to join the cool club and do what's cool. So you can see in the old days, drinking tomato juice was considered a way to stay thin and beautiful and fabulous. And the fiber in celery could clean out your butt, and like we're pushing products, trying to get people to use commercial products instead of home canned goods. For a very long time, people have been pushing health. They invented the idea that bran was okay to eat and maybe even good for you. And this whole invention of these processed grain products as something that's good and okay to eat has been a pressure for that. Has been a long time coming. In more recent times, we've had this huge explosion because we've been pushed to eat a low-fat diet in obesity and diabetes. You guys heard about obesity and diabetes?
Yeah.
So have you heard the word keto?
Yeah.
So keto is the ultra low carb diet. You know, you were saying very eloquently that you want to eat the right carbs and controlled amounts and not overdo carbs, because you overdo carbs and you get metabolic syndrome and overweight and end up with diabetes, which is very destructive. So the answer now is to go keto, and instead of eating regular bread, make it with almonds. That's a totally new invention and not necessarily a good thing. So this fat phobia that we invented in the last mid-century, has led to some strange ideas. And as science progresses, we got really interested in genetics. And now the big message is that, okay, if you just eat enough vegetables, everything's okay. Just eat more vegetables and you'll fix everything. You'll fix all your health problems if you eat more veggies, right? And then I get stuff like this all the time. You must see this, because this is out of my inbox in my email. Like, oh, you're not eating enough superfoods. If you're in pain, you need more chocolate and you need more broccoli. You need more superfoods. Like the superfood thing is really cool now. It's a completely made up thing. And so we've really been misguided, because it was when I got rid of these healthy superfoods is when I finally had good feet, finally could work again, finally get back to being productive human being, back to studying, back to the library. I couldn't do those things when I wasn't healthy. And it was my attempt to get healthy that put me there. So we're really misguided in thinking that we absolutely have to have a lot of vegetables and that you can eat any amount you want and they won't hurt you. And in fact, the more you eat of these vegetables, the better. And so this plant-based thing gets a lot of support from, quote, even science people. But think about how someone could end up with, I shrunk almost 1.5 inches when I was a vegetarian. That's like 40 millimeters. It's a huge chunk of my body just collapsing because my spine was collapsing. The bones in my back were collapsing. There was a picture back there. Where does that come from? Not enough of the right nutrients getting into the cells where they need it, and deficiency that's created by that, and toxicity. Like there's elements in the way that is damaging the way the body works and damaging the cells. And when you don't have enough nutrients and you've got toxicity, you end up with all these processes of inflammation and breaking the way your cells produce energy and protect themselves, and you end up aged and diseased. And I was the person who felt like she was 80 when she was 30 and spent most of my adulthood feeling like a little old lady with all this arthritis and shrinking back and lots of fatigue. And I was eating this beautiful diet. And the only way I got my life back was to stop eating that beautiful diet and do something different. So fundamentally, if something is toxic and doesn't provide enough nutrients or somehow blocks your nutrients, it's not going to support health. And the thing is, the idea of plant-based and more is better doesn't make any sense. If you guys went out to the park and tried to have a nice plant-based meal in the park based on what's growing there, how many plants could you eat in the park that are growing in the park? Are there any plants that are edible there?
Maybe like herbs.
Maybe herbs. I don't know.
None.
Probably
Oh
not.
yeah, we're not allowed to eat grass.
Yeah, grass is made of cellulose, which is like wood fiber, and you don't have the enzymes to break that down. That's just pure fiber. And that's cows can do it because they have 4 stomachs, and it's not the cow that's digesting all the grass. It's the bacteria in there that's digesting the grass. And then really the cow is eating the dead bacteria. The cow is getting the protein from the bacteria who are able to break down the grass. So you can build a big cow on grass thanks to bacteria, but you don't have that kind of stomach. These things, this is a yew berry, very poisonous. These are very poisonous plants, deadly. A lot of plants, you would protect a small child from eating them. You know how little kids put stuff in their mouth? That's not safe, right? There are poisons even in these 2 foods. Do you recognize those? Can you see them?
Kiwi.
Isn't that boba?
No.
And the black
Kiwi.
Blackberry.
Oh, that's a blackberry.
Yeah. So why are plants toxic? Why can't you eat the plants growing outside in your neighborhood?
I
mean, because dad's eating.
no, because if we do, we'll die.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the plants have to have chemicals to protect themselves, because they're just sitting there and on comes funguses and things that hurt them. insects and other herbivores who want to chew them down to nothing, and they wouldn't survive without it. There's a field called toxicology, you know, that studies what's toxic and what's not and how much you can take before it kills you, and then, you know, other toxic effects that lead to diseases. And I've been reading a lot of this literature because I basically poisoned myself eating too much sweet potatoes and foods like that. That's the weirdest idea. I had no idea you could do that. And it turns out the toxicologists have been laughing at us for years. Long before 1975, they were saying things like plant foods have a high level of toxicity. Never heard that before?
Nope.
Nope. You have to be able to study. Your brain has to work. You have to go down to the medical library and open the books to find out. And a lot of what's in the standard textbooks and what teachers are telling you just ignores things like this. Oh, no, well, plants are great. Plants are so great. They're full of these chemicals that are popular right now called polyphenols, which are a major anti-nutrient because it blocks you from using the nutrients in your food. So in the case of many polyphenols, they're blocking the enzymes that allow you to digest your food. So you know how you said you needed protein? You're not going to get near as much protein out of your food if you eat a lot of these plant foods because you can't digest the protein, nor can you get those good healthy fats, fatty acid, lipids that are essential. You can't even get as much calories out of your carbohydrates. So if you eat a high plant-based diet, it's easier to be thin because it's blocking you from getting your basic calories. It's also blocking you from getting minerals and nutrients that you need. And it's rough on the digestion. So we promote like, oh, grapes and wine and pomegranate because they're so full of these polyphenols that interfere with your digestion and reduce your ability to get nutrients from your food. So eating a lot of these plant chemicals, which are thousands of them, makes the diet more toxic. It makes the diet more malnourishing and because it makes it harder for us to get the minerals and proteins out of food. The other problem with the plant-heavy diet, especially the healthy kind of plants, is that you're much more likely to become a binge eater. Remember, you guys already said this. You know, if you over-control your diet and eat certain foods, but if you're malnourished, you're just fundamentally hungry. If you don't get the nutrients you need, your body's going to feel like it needs something and you're going to have this desire to eat stuff. So the research demonstrates that a lot of vegans and vegetarians are secret binge eaters and pigging out on tons of chips and so on. Here's a little quick list you can see on your screen of a bunch of chemicals in foods, right? In plants: lectins, phytic acid, polyphenols, saponins, glycoloids, glycinolates, blah, blah, blah. Bunch of them. The one that I'm really focused on is this one called oxalic acid, which Anna mentioned earlier. So I have been studying the plant compounds and studying oxalate and oxalic acid and its derivatives for a while. And now I'm realizing in my field in public health and health promotion that we really need to be paying attention to how to avoid plant toxins that are in our plant foods. And that would be an important defensive strategy to protect pregnant women, protect babies, and protect many people, including vegetarians, from harming themselves by overdoing it. So here's some of the foods that have this anti-nutrient called oxalate or oxalates or oxalic acid. It's in spinach. That's the green smoothie ingredient, the favorite, right, for that. Beets, celery, peanuts, all kinds of nuts like almonds and so on. Tea, bran, grains, soy, berries, mostly the blackberries and raspberries. So oxalic acid is a tiny little chemical that's just got a couple of little carbons. This is uber small chemical. You think of water as H2O, right? Just like 3 little molecules with 2 H's. This has got like 4 O's on it. Very small 2-carbon molecule that forms crystals. And these little nanocrystals, nanoparticles, are quite toxic to cells. And plants build them up into bigger crystals, these toothpicks. When you eat kiwis, you're eating these toothpicks. They're called raphides, or these other kind of funky, what I call disco balls or chips of crystals. These are crystals in people's urine. This is how it harms you. So most of the research on this has to do with how those crystals turn into kidney stones and cause kidney problems and urinary tract problems. But this lady who's working on kidney research also gave volunteers spinach smoothie and then found that the little nanocrystals that are so damaging form very quickly in the urine after a spinach smoothie. The little ones that are much worse than even the big ones. So Here, see these little guys? They're so small, they really irritate cells and cell membranes, and so they're more damaging than these bigger ones that are in the urine. She also found that within 40 minutes of a spinach smoothie, you have damaged immune cells. The cells in your blood are now awash in oxalate, and it damages the immune cells, and their way of generating energy and their way of functioning gets disturbed. So just the main thing I want you guys to know, if you ever are in a situation like I was, where you have some kind of, I was told I had gout, which is like toe pain in college. If you have arthritis like I had, or other kinds of joint pain, or if you end up with digestive pain like I had, or end up with kidney problems, my goodness, you definitely need to be thinking about your diet. Brain fog, having trouble. I had so much trouble with studying. My brain couldn't focus because I was slightly poisoned. Fatigue, anxiety, depression, moodiness, irritability. This is all inflammation and brain toxicity. If you ever get any of those things, it's time to make your health your number one priority. Forget school for a minute. Start schooling yourself on what you're eating and start learning about the oxalate thing and avoiding them. Because if you eat a poison, it's almost certain to disagree with you sooner or later, according to Alice from Alice in Wonderland. I think she's right. I work with people who have gotten really sick from this, and they even have crystals popping out on their nail beds and their faces. When they stop eating this stuff, the body finally can stop collecting it. Because unfortunately, when you eat sweet potatoes every day like I did, your body starts collecting oxalate, and these crystals end up in your body, not just kidney stones. And so the people I'm helping are like, oh, they tried to eat so healthy for years. And this is what happened. A lot of us became these shipwrecks. So what do you do to be healthy? Well, you do have a good support network and pay attention to your family and friends. And you do live joyfully, and you're grateful for all the things your parents do for you and all the things you have. That's the basis of healthy living. But you need some sleep, you need to move around and get outside, and you need to eat well. But the problem is, what the heck does it mean to eat well? Nobody has a straight answer. We're really confused about that, wouldn't you say? If my eating well made me sick? So I wanted to show you this really quick. We got to move fast through this because I could get lost in the details. But this was from the New York Times, which is a big newspaper in the United States. After, in 2015, a girl from New York State won the Miss America pageant. They go, look, we've had 5 Miss Americas come out of New York State. Aren't we great? And so there was somebody from 1945 and 84, 2013, 14. They had 3 in a row. They were getting really quite great at producing. New York State's great at producing contest winners. So the thing is, there's some nutritional message in this. If you look at the gal who won in 1945 and the gal who won in 2015, can you see this image at all on that screen? Who do you think would win now if they were in a contest and it was based on the beauty of their face? Who do you think would win?
The blonde one.
You like the blonde one?
Oh, is she blonde? Sorry.
The 2015 gal?
I think the name
I like the 45.
The
Yeah,
45.
No. I think based off of looks now, the blonde woman might win by how people view beauty.
Yeah.
But
But
personally, I think the
Personally, I
1945.
vote for the 1945 one.
You guys have it straight. We are now gotten used to very narrow faces like mine. See how my face just disappears and flattens? It's really narrow and is thin, is not filled out properly. This lady from 1945, she has proper cheekbones that are broad, and she has, her face keeps going around the side of her head. She's not a little flat box like me, but more and more people are shaped like this little flattened box, like this gal from 2015. That's an incomplete development of the facial bones from incomplete nutrition during fetal development before you're born and right after you're born. This reflects better nutrition. This narrower face reflects inadequate nutrition. People don't realize that the way you eat before you're pregnant and the way you eat during the pregnancy affects the whole development of the face, and the bones in the mouth and the face support the brain and the pituitary gland, which is the center of your control of your whole body, and the dentition in the mouth. So in order to produce a good jaw structure that holds your whole head up and structures your face and makes you beautiful, to be symmetrical and fully fleshed out in the face and have teeth that fit, you need enough nutrition coming from your mom's diet. and you need the nutrition long before she even got pregnant. So both the parents need to think about their nutrition when they're teenagers. When you're 14, 15 and beyond, you need to be thinking about your nutrition if you want to produce a healthy child that's beautiful, that's teeth fit in their head, that doesn't have cramped sinuses and cramped pituitary gland, that the way we eat provides the material for building the next person, right? The amount of nutrition in the body is the supplies for building the next structure. So if a new baby was a cathedral or a chapel, you need to bring in enough wood and nails in order to build it properly to have this nice, beautiful building. That's what you're building in a face and in a body. You need the materials to get there. But if you're eating plants that block it's like blocking the calcium and blocking the nutrition to the baby. It's like taking the nails away from the people who are trying to build. Can't put it together if you don't have enough materials. Make sense?
Yeah.
So our history is hunters and foragers, and we ate a lot of meat. But then when we invented wheat growing and invented agriculture, we developed societies like the ancient Egyptian who tried to live mostly on bread and beer and had a very plant-heavy diet. And those people we know from the record had a lot of osteoporosis, arthritis, birth defects. They were smaller in structure and stature because they didn't have enough materials because of the blocking. The bran and the materials in the bran and the plant foods block the nutrients. It's easier to get nutrients from meat than from the plants. And now we're so plant-based. And even though now we know to add back in the missing nutrients, we put vitamins in flour so that when you eat pizza, you're not eating nothing. You're eating the vitamin supplements that are added to the flour to make the bread and the crust of the pizza. So we've helped some of that. We don't have really obvious deficiency diseases because we throw nutrients on a lot of these foods. Although your chips that you buy, like we call them fries here, or your potato chips, nobody's sprinkling vitamins on them, and they're very deficient, and they also have toxins. So what we're seeing is a huge explosion in health problems. The public health literature has been aghast for 20 years about what a mess we are with our health going downhill. We see a lot more obesity, a lot more chronic disease and diabetes, a lot more people on medication. The average oldest person in America is like on 9 drugs. Once they're in retirement age, people are running to the drugstore constantly to refill their drugs because they're on so many medications. Lots of problems with cancer, more kids with autism, autoimmune problems like lupus, allergies, problems with moodiness and, a lot more depression and discontent and unhappiness, and problems with fertility. A lot of people have trouble getting pregnant or maintaining their pregnancy. Now we know that toxins can harm babies. This is the case of a tomato picker. She and her friends all were pregnant. 3 of them were pregnant at the same time. They worked in the tomato fields in Florida. The other women's babies aborted and they didn't have live births. The babies died before they were born. This baby survived the chemicals that were put on these plants. These women worked with the plants all day long, and so they were absorbing chemicals. They didn't spray the chemicals. They just picked tomatoes. So picking tomatoes provided enough poisons to harm this child. He has no arms and legs. So there's nothing especially healthy about the standard tomato if it's killing the workers' babies, wouldn't you say? That's not necessarily a compassionate diet to eat that kind of food, is it? A lot of plant growing is quite destructive, not only to the workers who work there, although that's a big thing even in the wheat. You go into these milling factories, there's so much dust that people get lung diseases from the milling of the wheat. But out there in the land, doing this monocropping of many, many acres of the same crop with these big machines and so on, it destroys soil, destroys the ecosystem where animals live, chews up animals. Quite hard on animals to be growing wheat the way we do. So you can't say that a pizza doesn't hurt animals versus eating a steak, hurting one animal versus killing the animals in the fields when we're making wheat. So I just want to mention that because people forget how destructive agriculture can be. So it's not just the direct killing of an animal, but other animals can be harmed. And the plant-based world thinks it's better than everyone else because they don't kill animals and they're good for the planet. But an awful lot of vegetables are wrapped in styrofoam, which is toxic, and plastic containers, and it all becomes garbage that some of it ends up in the oceans. And you can certainly eat a lot of garbage food covered in plastic packaging and call yourself a healthy vegan. So I mentioned this before, that human beings used to hunt as our primary way of feeding ourselves. And we did that for almost all of our history. 99% of human history, we were hunting and making meat the centerpiece of our diet. But now today we think we don't need meat anymore, that you can live without meat, but there's some problems with that. And now we've got some problems with we're really worried about this ultra processed thing. So we forget that just in the middle here, eating too much plants can become a problem, has been a problem for human beings for a long time. We forget that because the junk food world, like the Kit Kats, is so out of control. We're trying to get back to eating like beans and vegetables, when probably we should go back a little further, back to making sure that we're recognizing that human beings need some animal foods, especially the fats from animal foods. Animal fats are very good for us. And that's what we've always done. That's our niche in the ecology. And as one of you wisely said, a lot of these animals probably are here so we can be here. If they aren't here eating the grass and turning the grass into food that we can digest, we wouldn't be here. We owe a lot of gratitude to that. So there's been, this stuff about fat. I don't want to go into this too much, but basically the fear of fat has caused a diabetes epidemic. Fear of cholesterol is a bad idea. Too little cholesterol can cause brain health problems, and certainly high blood lipids. There's a whole argument about this. You do not have to worry about this. Fat does not close your arteries. Fat does not shut down your heart. Fat does not give you heart attacks. What does happen, though, is a lot of us feel sick and we don't know why. We have to keep going to the doctor to get blood drawn and what's wrong with us and have tests done. And this whole medical world that we're really relying on heavily. The U.S. is a huge consumer of healthcare, really big. We don't have the control kind of system you guys have there. And the medical industry uses a tremendous amount of radiation and chemicals and plastics. They have to wear gloves for everything they do and change them out. They have to change out their mask all the time. They have to use sterilized plastic things, and we end up producing a lot of plastic garbage. It's supposed to be controlled. It gets burned and can be a big pollution problem here in the US. This is in India. This is an incineration plant burning medical waste. But private contractors are often hired to take away the biomedical waste, and a lot of it ends up badly disposed of and illegally disposed of and ends up in the oceans and even floating up on the beaches. Now, you guys mentioned the planet. If you eat meat, it's bad for the planet. And some of the reasons why people say that is because this commercialized production, just like commercialized wheat can be bad, so can commercialized animal growing. This is not good for anyone. It doesn't produce good food that's nutritious and safe. It's certainly not good for the animals, and it is a moral crisis to be treating animals like that. But there's other options out there. There's plenty of small family farmers who adore their animals, who take beautiful care of them, who have lovely lives, as you already know and mentioned. And this is really the most ideal way to get our meats, is to promote the small family farmer in our communities, support them, get to know them, and find food that is safe and beautifully grown. So right now, the internet and social media and a lot of prominent people are purveying some mythology that isn't really a true story, that eating more plants is more ecological. There's really no proof of that. There's lots of proof that putting animals on land protects the land and helps bring back the land, build the soil, and help the local ecosystem. That animal fats do not make you fat. You do not have to be afraid of butter or a nice fatty steak. That is not going to make you fat. That's going to make you feel satisfied and make you less likely to binge and need giant desserts and be endlessly hungry. Eating animals is wrong. That's a big conversation that needs some very careful consideration, because we're stuck in our own biology. We have to live in our own. How could it be wrong to be who you were born to be? How can it be wrong to eat the foods that make you healthy and make the next generation healthy? Could that be wrong? And eating meat can restore your health. And that's what I'm finding with myself and a lot of my clients that I'm working with and followers. And some of this is getting shared with stories. People ask me to share this on their podcast. So I've been interviewed for lots of podcasts, and I'd love you guys if you would check out these 3 in particular. With Kiki Flynn, she and I had a really interesting conversation. She had the same story of wrecking her health on a vegetarian diet. And Harriet, who's from England, she had a very interesting story being a plant-based vegan since she was 5 and getting into big trouble with her health. And this guy, BNS, Goku Great, some really great discussions there. So I'm going to stop this and see if you guys, what you think of any of those ideas.
It's crazy that because the fact that eating such plant-based diets has like really immediate effects, like very obvious ones, and the fact that nobody really knows about that.
You wouldn't think that, would you?
No.
Yeah, the thing with like with you and your troubles, and the fact that you just changed your diet and almost, well, very quickly you just started just feeling a lot better. That's really, like, nobody really would think that if you think of a plant-based diet.
Yeah, but that must have been so scary because you didn't realise that.
Yeah, you think you're being healthy as well. It's like, and you were saying how like spinach and nuts and things were what some of the most toxic things, which is like the health foods, like nut milk, like almond milk, spinach smoothies.
So many people like
So much
you should have
spinach in
this
your
stuff.
smoothies.
Yeah, spinach in smoothies is like such a massive thing. And you were like talking about how people who have spinach in smoothies have like those crystals.
It's so weird because people on like YouTube and things.
And when you're eating that, you actually feel good about yourself. You're like, okay, I'm actually doing something good for myself. And it's, you know, nobody out there is probably trying to trick others and be like, oh, I'm going to say I'm eating spinach to make everyone else unhealthy. They genuinely think that they're being healthy and they're helping their life. And maybe if they want to have kids, like they're like, oh, this will make me healthy and like
this will help my child.
Exactly.
It's basically our whole generation is like being.
But it's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
I think that trying to stop production of children, I think it's kind of stopping the production of children, because when you're asking us to eat these stuff and we don't actually realise that it's killing us.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been eating it from a young age, haven't we?
Yeah, our parents have been telling us, oh, you should eat more nuts and you should eat more
vegetables,
spinach,
and almond
celery.
It's really good for you, and then in
Peanut
the end,
butter.
it's actually peanut butter. I love
It's so good.
Humans in history have always eaten meat, right? And less plants. Like when we first came, was there did any of these diseases exist? No. And then suddenly people, I don't know why people think it's like, then now people say, they're like, meat gives you cancer and diabetes. Meat gives you cancer and diabetes.
It's just so
but
much
how is
false.
that possible if those illnesses didn't exist before and that's all we ate?
Yeah,
And
but
meat was
people
all
were
we ate.
eating literal mountains of meat, and they were okay. And some
mountains as well.
I mean, think about it. They had literal pigs on tables.
There's so much false information spread that people actually
Wikipedia.
believe it. Wikipedia is actually
So
secure.
bad.
No, Wikipedia is secure. I mean, there's just so much fake information, and people actually believe it. Like,
I'm going to tell you something. Yeah, they actually believe it and they follow it, which is why, as you did before when you were younger, you followed the prototype and the trend of being healthy by not eating meat. So now it's like taken over half of your life, which is really horrible. And
What I was saying about the 2 causes of aging and disease, remember what they are?
exactly.
Deficiency and toxicity. The vegetables are deficient and cause deficiency and toxicity, right? It's basic. Plants have to be poisonous.
But for us, it's just don't eat a lot.
Or
Yeah,
don't
a
eat.
lot.
Or don't eat full stop, period.
Which is so bad.
Yeah. Don't eat.
And then people wonder why you look so skinny, or why your parents are worried that you're going to collapse at any moment.
Yeah,
and because you're being told you're eating too much. You don't look right.
The funny thing is, no one's gonna like your size no matter what. They're
Or
gonna tell you.
You're never gonna
Yeah,
like
they're gonna be like, oh no, you're too skinny. You need to eat more. Oh no, you need to eat less. So there's not gonna be a perfect size, and they're just telling you the complete wrong thing, and it makes no
to be honest,
sense.
you shouldn't work your work. You shouldn't tweak or change your size. You shouldn't change your size, because to be honest, I'm a Christian and God's made you this way, so you shouldn't really change. That's where you're made.
You guys are describing a world that has a really bad eating disorder.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like everybody's brains are messed up. Everyone's virtue signaling with their food. It's coolness. Join my cool avocado club over here. My smoothie club over here. Look at me. I do my smoothies. You better do it too. And everybody's policing each other and telling them what to do. And then you're making you wrong. And what's the solution to living in a crazy world? How are you going to survive that?
At the end,
can't.
it's not going to work.
There is no solution. People will always have their own
But I think
opinions on how to eat, and they will never actually match the standards that people have.
And
Just be
even
yourself.
before social media, everybody had their standards and judged how other people eat, and
I
it was
think
like
it's just become
maybe,
worse.
but because of social media,
Yeah.
it's become like 100 times worse, because you have such easy access to what other people are doing, and influencers have become such a massive thing. Like, influencers didn't exist before, but now, because of social media, people have platforms and people look up to other people.
Well, just in general, social media is so problematic, because I'm not going to say a lot of stuff, because I know a lot of stuff that has happened because of how popular it is, popular, but
Especially
all
TikTok.
of them are so problematic. All of them. They don't know what they're doing with their life. They're like racist, they're homophobic.
They are so racist.
They're everything they do is disgusting. And but people still like them and defend them. Anyone says anything
So
about
interesting. There's so many things you guys are talking about here, about the hate going on and the lack of kindness. And you got to think, if people are saying these things, there's something wrong with them. That insecurity thing everyone's got, they're so insecure. They got to attack other people to feel better about themselves. You know what? This is a mental illness. You don't eat well enough to have a brain and a heart that work anymore. You hear that? I mean, do you see this insanity? We live in a food disordered world where people are just like virtuing on their food all the time and sticking it in each other's faces and criticizing each other and acting so wrong and so immoral. And people think, oh, I'm a better person because I eat a smoothie and not a steak. And yet you're rude and mean to everybody and making everyone else wrong. Like, none of that makes any sense. I think, we want instead, I think, to pull back to some kind of integrity within ourselves. Like, we know that we're trying to have our brain work well enough that we're not insecure. We're not threatened by other people's problems and inability to act right.
Yeah.
And we know how to follow our real desires in life and respect what we're interested in, what we want to do, who we want to be, and we cultivate the better side of ourselves. And part of that is having a healthy brain, getting enough butter, getting enough egg yolks, getting good food gives you a sense of peace. Remember, I was saying how the vegans tend to binge because they're malnourished. And that's exactly what Miley said. She says, I was malnourished. I was at the end of her rope after 5 years of veganism. She was really collapsing, as was Liam, so that you have to recognize that some of this craziness and illogic is a reflection of poor health, emotional health, social health, and probably physical health too. It's all connected. So the core of all of it, your physical health comes first, and then your social health with your family and your friends and your community and our wider society that has strange values and okay with some bad behavior. That's all the core of it, though. None of it can be fixed if we're all sick physically.
Yeah, can I just say that with these people that are spreading hate and not liking people just based on a small amount of weight, they just need some love. Honestly, instead of going after people and criticizing the haters and saying, well, why are you saying this? You're probably not as much.
They need God.
They need God. They need to be loved. They need to be told that they're actually worth something. Because I think it's based on the mentality that maybe they're coming after people because they are probably skinnier than the person that's giving the hate in the first place, and the person doesn't feel that they are worth enough.
Yeah.
And so they terrorize people who have a certain amount of self-confidence just to bring them down and make themselves feel better, even though in the end they're not.
I'm not even serious. They need God.
Whatever religion.
Yeah. Do you need
or no
some
religion?
God up there?
Yeah, exactly. No religion. You just need
Even
someone.
just your parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need someone.
Someone to tell you that you're loved and that you're worth it.
As elite as God, which is not possible. But like your parents or friends, you know, you need someone to support you. You know, it's really important.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to befriend yourself. You have to be.
Yeah. You gotta love
I'm
yourself.
good enough. I'm enough. I'm okay.
And lots of people don't feel like that because of all the influence they're getting and how much they're being told that they're wrong.
Which is why the social media is so toxic, because it erodes that feeling of being enough. You're never good enough. You're never going to be good enough. Because what people put on social media is the best possible moments.
It's only like a 1/10 of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
All the bad bits, they obviously don't show to the world, because why would you want to show that to anybody?
So how would you start a new trend?
To start a new trend, you would probably have to do something original. Or have the looks. You have to either be really good looking or start something else that is completely original, nobody's heard of before. So for example, if you wanted to start something that's actually healthy eating, you could do it. But you have to have people that are willing to follow you and follow what you're doing.
They don't want to believe the real truth, though. They like to believe the other story.
Yeah, because that's what people have been telling them, and that's what's big, right?
You know why there's followers?
Because
what I do works and helps people, and they keep sharing it. It's not because I'm trying hard. It's because it's so useful.
Yeah, because people want to change.
Better. They want to feel better. If you do what I did and do the whole plant-based thing, and then even when I went back to meat, I didn't know sweet potatoes were bad, and I was eating them every day. I was still ruining my health, and now I eat mostly just meat. How do we invite people to come learn what I'm trying to share with people? How do we invite them in?
I think definitely put it on your social media
if you
platform.
have a platform, even the slightest following,
Even if you have one follower, do it.
So if you were going to try to convince somebody that there was something did we do anything today that's worth seeing again? Should somebody check in and see what we talked about today? If so, what did we talk about, and why is it useful, if it is?
I mean, I definitely show Rumbus.
and like all the and talking about like just explaining, because what you explained, there is probably so much more detail that you could go into.
Yeah.
But you explained the very basics, just the fact that plants have some plants more than others have toxins.
Yeah, toxins.
And like, isn't it weird that we know that some plants are poisonous, but then we kind of obviously, because some of them don't kill us, but for example, rhubarb, the leaves, apparently they can kill you or something.
Yeah.
Doesn't
you know why?
Huh?
You know why the rhubarb leaf kills you?
They have high oxalate content, isn't it that?
That's exactly
what my mum told me. Yeah. And then isn't it weird that we then like accept the fact that eating a rhubarb, like I never connected the fact that the leaves would be related to like the actual, but then when you think about it, it's a part of the same plant. Why would it not affect like anything in the rhubarb?
Why would the rhubarb affect you?
I just think now overall, everything that people say about eating and stuff, no one really has a clue about what they're talking about. They're just saying things that has been passed on by someone else, and that person doesn't even know, and it goes round and round. It just started off by one person saying plants are good for you, and then that's when the whole thing
probably
started.
a really like big famous person.
Yeah,
plants are good for you. Stop eating.
Like I'm losing weight because I'm eating plants.
Yeah, which you are, but
it's
not
healthy.
Good, yeah, it's not
good. I mean,
that much weight, is it really good to be that small?
No.
So I want to go back to something Astrid said, because I think it is the most important, most profound thing that the whole world needs to hear and understand. She talked about how human beings always ate meat, And then in modern life, we invented modern diseases like heart attacks, obesity, and diabetes, and cancer that didn't exist before, and decided meat caused all those things.
That's
Somebody summarize that for us again and just like point that out to the world, because hello, people, it's basic.
yeah. It's like if you just think for 2 seconds and then you think about what that thought process was actually just like based on, and you're like, wait, that just doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up at all.
Yeah, we were
Like, make it add up.
we were hunters.
Mm-hmm.
We were originally hunters. This is what we ate. We didn't go around.
Eat vegetables.
We didn't go around picking up berries
Because
or
dinosaurs
getting
ate them.
apples from the floor. We were people that went and killed a moving animal and ate it over a fire, right?
It had a big feast. It had a big feast and did not count calories.
Yeah, we didn't count the calories.
We didn't have obesity when we were hunters.
How many calories does this bit of ball have?
Thanks so much for listening.
We learned so much today.
And we hope you did too.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay,
Actually, like, we can have bloopers at the end, you know.